Guys, welcome.
Hey.
Yeah. Can you introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Katarina J, and this is
Alex.
And Alex is my drummer for one of my bands. I have two of them, Interstate Run. And then we're actually up here for St. Joe for a show for Ramona Clay, which is my other band. He's filling in for me tonight.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So technically both bands right now.
Yep, both.
Awesome. Drummer saves the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, always.
Awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about Ramona Clay? When did you guys form? And
Yeah, absolutely. And I can actually tell you, do you want me to tell you about both at the same time? Because there is a long, convoluted story.
sure, I love stories.
Yes, it's story time. So yeah, Interstate Run was my first band, and we actually started back in 2014. I used to be really afraid of singing in front of people, so I started going to karaoke to get over my fear. And then people are like, "Man, you got a voice on you. You should start a band." And so finally, like, the drunkest of all drunk guys came and was like, put his arm around me, and he's like, "Hey, you need to start a band. You're wasting your talent." I'm like, "Okay, drunk guy that I'll never see again." You know, I don't know their name. He's drunk guy in my story. But I was like, yes, I'll start a band. And so I posted on Facebook. I'm like, "Hey, who wants to start a band with me?" I had never done it. I had no idea what I was doing. And within 24 hours, I had a band put together. It didn't last because musicians, but I did get my guitar player, Chris Stefani, for that. And we've been together playing music since. And so we went and took a little bit of a break. We actually had a couple of musicians here from St. Joe that was in that band with us. We had Jason Johnson, who's great. We had Christian Solomon, who has a couple different nicknames, Kalani from Kalani and the Mainlanders, or Binky, sometimes people call him that, and they were really good. And we spent a real long time commuting up here to have some band practice with them. But we ended up taking a break for probably 4 years, I think.
Oh, wow.
And in that time, I was like, man, I can't stop writing music. I've been writing it my whole life. So I started learning to play piano. Started taking music theory and ear training classes, music tech classes. So I learned how to use Pro Tools. I learned Logic Pro and different DAWs like that. Most of them are pretty much the same. And started just writing music in the corner of my bedroom. And
So
then
cool.
we got a fun global pandemic. I actually had a failed project in there before the pandemic happened. I tried to take some of the songs that I was writing and start a project, but we just couldn't get a steady, like, consistent musicians who wanted to be a part of it. And then the world broke.
Yeah.
And after the world broke, I was still writing music. Every summer I do this, like, songwriting challenge thing. It's like a private group. It's not usually, like, open. Like, you have to know me, and then I'll put you in the group, because we have a challenge at the beginning of each month in May, June, and July. I'll put, like, a couple prompts, and people can do it, or they don't have to. They can do what they want. And then we share them at the end of the month, and we write one song a month and share it as a group. And so I was doing all that, and I was like, it's probably about time. And I came up with a band name like 2 years before we started rehearsing. And I think, did we start rehearsing in May?
August.
Oh, wrong
August,
band.
yeah.
Wrong band. I can't ask you. You're not my Ramona Clay person. I think Ramona Clay started practicing May of last year.
Okay.
If that, because I'm a teacher also. So
wow.
I think we were waiting for the school year to kind of get over, and we were not supposed to launch already. But we have some friends in a band called Twisted Dragon, and they said, "Hey, there's this really good opportunity. You should play the show with some bands that are up and coming. So Versus Me, Kingdom Collapse." And these bands are getting onto the Billboard charts. So we're like, you know what? Thank you, friends. And Twisted Dragon, we'll join this ticket with you. And we ended up launching in November of last year, playing live shows. And that was our first show. We played Topeka. And
Yep.
we played the legendary Booby Trap, and we took Alex with us
Yep,
on
that
that
was my
one.
first show with the band.
Yeah. And then we headlined the Record Bar, I don't know, a week ago.
Yeah, and I was in the audience for that one.
He didn't know what to do. Like the football players suited up to play the games.
It was nice to come to a gig and not have to lug drums around for once. So,
Well, just in case the drummer falls off stage, you can.
Yes.
I am prepared.
And he comes through, for sure.
There's been times where I've showed up to a gig and just had my drums in the car, and some drummer won't make it, and the band leader will be like, "Hey, you got your drums?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, "Can you set up and play?" "Yeah."
Yes, absolutely.
It happens.
Thank God for drummers.
Right?
You know,
God for drummers.
at least ones that remember their drum keys.
Right? Yes, and if not, I have one.
I was talking to a local bass player. He's like, I always bring a drum key with me. And I'm like, thanks for looking out, bro, because some of us need help.
That's awesome, though. That's
Yeah.
actually like a really...
It really
really
is.
important. I would
It
never
is
think of
super
that.
important.
It's so good to play with people that look out for each other. It can be hard to find that. So,
It really is.
yeah, so
We're lucky.
I should probably start carrying around some picks to return the favor just in case.
Yes. Some guitar strings.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I've seen that happen before, where a guy had extra guitar strings, and one of the guys on stage, it broke, and like, here you go, here's one, lifesaver.
Well, and then they're
Total
always
lifesaver.
out of tune, right, when you first put them on. But
Oh, yeah.
you do what you can.
Can you tell me a little bit about where the name Ramona Clay came from?
Yeah, there's a whole genre of books called Ramona Clay books. They are books that are fiction, wink wink. So they're actually about true stories. But what they do is they change people's names or slight pieces in the story so that they don't get sued. So like The Devil Wears Prada was a really big movie that's actually based on a true story, but the author would say it's not, it's fake, right? Because they changed the names. But
Oh, yeah.
from my understanding, it's about a Vogue editor, and I could be wrong about the magazine, but it's actually a true story. And it's not always about things that have actually happened. They call them novels with a key. And so it might be about an entire time period where characters are different elements or philosophies or just different parts of the zeitgeist that you might not know about, but you have to figure it out. And so Ramona Clay sounds like Ramona Clay. Sounds like a woman's name, so I stole it.
Man, I gotta look up the word zeitgeist now.
It's the spirit of the times, the culture of the time period. So,
Okay.
yeah.
That's a
That's
good
actually really
word.
cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was something like an Alice Cooper, or if it was just...
No.
How often do you get called Ramona?
We've only played 3 shows, so we're even though all of us probably collectively have played a lot of shows.
Yeah.
We're actually we're little babies right now, even though we just got to headline the record bar.
Still
Ironically, as our
getting
third show, and then we'll play our 4th show tonight at
Yeah.
Skate Bar. We've actually only had the record bar show is the only one where we've had all of our core members play a show together. Because when I built it as a music collective rather than a band. Something that's different with this is I wrote all of the music for Ramona Clay by myself in my bedroom using Logic Pro and VSTs, and sometimes I'll break out some instruments, like I played a real bass on it and played my piano and things like that. But I wrote all of this by myself, which is a lot different than Interstate Run, because all the music I wrote with Interstate Run I wrote with my guitar player Chris Stefani. So a lot of times he'll just be messing around. I'll be like, hey, what are you doing right now? I'll be like, can you play that again? And then he will, and then we'll write a song. Like the last song I wrote for Interstate Run, we literally wrote it in 1 take. He was messing around, like, hey, do that. And then actually Jason Johnson and Christian Solomon, it was at Kalani's house up here in St. Joe, and we all just did it, and the words and the melody, everything came out in 1 take, the whole song.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it's one of my favorites, so hopefully we get to record it sometime soon. That song's
Would-
called I Could Love You Too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
'Cause I know the songs because I play drums on them. I don't know the history of any
Yeah.
of
We're
them. I
just
don't
in
know any
rehearsal.
of the lyrics either.
Oh, it's good. But he lies to you because if you watch his mouth, he's singing it.
I'm really good at faking knowing what I'm doing
I
on
can
stage.
read lips. I can read lips. I read your lips yesterday in rehearsal while you sang with me.
Oh, I cannot imagine what you thought I was saying.
You told me to. No, never mind. I was like, we probably cannot curse on this podcast.
Oh, no,
Anyway.
you can say almost anything.
Almost anything. Okay, because I'm
Almost.
FCC trained, okay? So I'm not getting anyone fined.
That's really beautiful, though, as far as like you get the best of both worlds, where you can do your focus on a loop and create a song out of that, or you get the experience with other musicians where you can bounce off, and that's both of those are really awesome, and you get to have both of those.
Well, and music's a social thing for me. I'm not a really big person. Like, I come off as an extrovert, but I'm an introvert who's been trained to be able to talk to people and things like that, but I'm not really big on going out or doing anything like that. So, like, for me, like, band practice is like my equivalent to going out to the bar, like for some people, or doing things like that. I'd much rather spend my time reading a book or going hiking or, doing something like that, writing or doing music or jamming with my friends. even though like people are like, you're the biggest extrovert I know. I'm like, yeah, but that's not where my power comes from.
Yeah.
So, and with music, I don't force anything. And so like with Chris, it's just I'll hear something and then I'll just start singing. I only write music when my soul wants to speak. Depending on what's going on, sometimes if I'm not writing music, it'll just like all of a sudden come out and I'll have like 10 songs out of nowhere, but like with Interstate Run, a lot of that was either if I had an idea, I would literally like sing it into my phone and send it to Chris and he'd figure it out on his guitar like once. We don't even want to know what some of this music sounded like. I'm like, there's some love-making songs coming out of this. But he'll figure it out every time, or if he has something, or if I have a melody and words. I don't have like a certain process like a lot of people have. Like, some people are like, must write lyrics, then write a melody, then write these chords, or whatever configuration of that. Just if something comes, like if I have my cell phone on me, I'll just sing into it, and it could be words, it could be a melody, it could be the guitar part, it could be piano, I could hear trumpet or violin, just whatever comes out, and I can feel when a song's coming, and I won't force it, I'll let it come. So there's songs that I have that are half written that may or may not ever be finished, and that's okay, because I don't care if they get finished or not. I'm not going to force anything, because it's not fun that way. And it's not authentic either.
That's true. People can tell.
Oh, absolutely.
Can you tell me a little bit about the future plans for Ramona Clay?
Yeah, so we actually have a few partnerships for Ramona Clay. Like I had mentioned, it's a collective, and part of that was so that I know sometimes people have obligations and they can't do different shows or different things like that, but it also challenges us as musicians to be able to get different members in and to meld our souls and our styles together in one cohesive way. But for Ramona Clay, my goal is to tour with this band. I already have some partnerships, so I have a sponsorship from Kansas City Women's Music Network. They are funding our first, at least partially, our first run of merch and our webpage that will go up. I have a sponsorship with Catamount Recording Studio, which is up in Iowa. So do you know the band Stone Sour?
Yeah.
So they recorded their first gold album there. And so we were in a partnership with them on working on finishing, I think we have 5 songs that we did up there with them. And actually Interstate Run recorded our single, Give You Everything, that we just released last month.
Yep.
And another one that's upcoming called Go to Sleep. I cannot talk enough good things about Travis Huseman from Catamount.
Yeah.
The studio is pristine.
It's ridiculous.
We recorded onto tape. Like, so for Interstate Run, we recorded the drums and the bass to tape. With Ramona Clay, when we went up there, we did drums, bass, and guitar to tape. I still need to go back and do my vocals because I actually got really severely ill when I went up there, and I could barely talk. And I thought I was fine going up there because I thought I was getting better, and then I just out of nowhere went out, and so I couldn't even sing. So we got some more guitar parts to record, and then some vocals and some backing vocals, and then we're gonna add fun things like synths and organs, and if we can add strings to some of it, we might do that. I might save that for some of the other music that my bandmates don't even know about yet, because I hide things, right? So and then we also have a partnership with In the Stigma, which is a mental health campaign through Harvard's #1 outpatient mental health facility. And so in the next couple years, we're going to have a partnership with them where we start bringing people's stories and their battles with mental illness to light, because Ramona Clay has more than just making music. It's a vehicle that I'm wanting to use to help get people treatment for low to no cost for mental illness.
Wow. That's all incredible.
Thank you.
From being able to record, but also being a part of the community and actually doing really good things.
Yeah, I hope so. And almost all of the music, like, and I know you're going to be there tonight listening to it. If you listen really closely, almost every song, not all of them, is about mental health of some sort. So I have a song about being stalked. I have a song about domestic abuse. I have a song about suicide. I have or suicidal thoughts. I have a song about surviving someone who's died by suicide. I have a song about depression, about PTSD, and all of these stories can hopefully help people, and not just having songs about them that people can connect to, because yes, obviously they can do that, but actually like I have some things from the Department of Veteran Affairs where they give us free bags and koozies and stuff. I didn't bring them to the show, where we're just giving those things out for free, so that people can have access to different resources. During our set, I have a song. Usually I end it with it in case I fall apart on stage. But I had a friend who died by suicide not too long ago, and he was, I mean, it's been a few years now, but he was in the metal circuit in Kansas City as well, and it gives me an opportunity to tell people about 988, right? So the Suicide Lifeline used to be this really long, drawn-out phone number, and I am a suicide prevention researcher as part of my job. And so we lobbied really hardcore with the government and with different organizations to get it switched to 988 so that people have easier access and they can remember it a lot better, because people's memories, we have about 5 to 9 slots of capacity in our working memory. And so if we can diminish how many digits that people have to remember, if it's just 988, it's a lot easier for people to get help. So I spend some time talking about that during our set, telling people, hey, put this in your phone, because it's not abnormal for people to have suicidal thoughts. It's really common, actually, but we don't want to talk about it. But if you don't need it, somebody you know will need this at some point, so save it so you have it.
Oh, wow. Wow. Goodness.
You didn't know what you were getting yourself into today, did you?
You guys are doing some really good work.
I'm really excited. No, I'm really excited. There's some things that we still gotta work out. We've been playing a whole lot of shows. I've been playing about a show a week for a while now. I thought I was going to take a break, and I'm not sure that break ever came. I mean, we went up to Iowa to record, but that was still. I got one. Like, one of my shows got moved a few weeks ago. I was playing in Columbia, Missouri, and they're like, we need to switch this because the people hosting it got sick. And I'm like, what? I have a weekend? I don't have to, like, and I love playing music. It's not that, but there's so much more to playing music than actually being on stage and playing music. There's a rehearsal for it. It's getting where you're going. It's setting up media interviews. It's publicizing things. And there's just so much. It was just nice to be like, I can put on my sweatpants and no one's going to take a picture or video of me. I joke that, like, if people really knew what I looked like most of the time, they would not. They'd be like, who is she?
I get that. For the most part, I'm a stay-at-home dad.
I love it.
And I dress like a stay-at-home dad.
That's me too. It wasn't yesterday because we did a rehearsal because we're playing, Interstate Run's playing Here's Voodoo Lounge on Friday, March 3rd. We got tickets if anyone hears this in time. If not, it was in the past and hopefully you were there. But I had to wear my outfit to test my in-ears to make sure it would stay with the outfit that I chose. But I think, like, Ramona Clay, our rehearsal on Tuesday, was wearing like men's shorts and like cut off shirt with a hat, and people are like, wait, what? I think a lot of my guys are probably like, she's a woman. When we show up to shows, like, who is this? We don't have a woman in our band.
So, so when do you think those recordings would come to light?
So yeah, that's a really good question, because we actually recorded 4 songs with Joel Nanos down at Element Recording in Kansas City. So he is like internationally known for stuff as well. And then we recorded the 5 at Catamount, and actually we recorded an interlude too, which gives us 10 tracks, which could be an album, but I actually wrote a full concept album of certain songs that I wanted together that told a story, right? Because Ramona Clay is all based in a genre of books. So I had an entire, not just music, but like an entire music video that spanned all of the songs for it. And I was calling it The Things That We Don't Talk About. Now the problem is now that I have 17 songs, do we release a concept album as our first thing? Right? Or do we build some of the other stories that I have? I kind of have enough songs now for we could do an EP based in fairy tales and tell a story that way. So I'm not sure. I know that's a long drawn out way to say that, but there's so many things, good things that are going on, that we're going to be very, very strategic about how we release this. Because even though Interstate Run has been around since 2014, we took that break too, but we actually just released our first single ever, and that was last month. I had never actually known how to do it. I still don't know if I know what I'm doing. I know we're on 8 radio stations right now, so maybe I know a little bit more than I think, but in terms of capacity, because I am fronting and the primary songwriter for both bands and doing manager duties, I'm a wild beast. But doing this, I'm going to need to kind of up the capacity of the band so that people are either having jobs or we have someone who's helping manage me, so that we can make the impact, because I'm not willing to give up either of my projects, because they both have great functionality. I joke that Interstate Run gets cheerleader me, and then Ramona Clay gets Wednesday Addams me, but they're still the same person. But the thing is, people don't like complexity. They like boxes, and they like to be able to classify you a certain way. So I will allow them to do that, but they're going to have so many boxes, I don't know if they're going to know what they can do with them. So.
Man, well, perhaps as the Ramona Clay goes on, you'll be able to bust out of those boxes and do whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And I kind of like it, though. It's kind of nice to have like the difference in them. So Interstate Run, we're more upbeat. We really rock pretty hard.
Absolutely.
And we have guitar players that slay and a bass player that's phenomenal, and this drummer over here is freaking remarkable. I joke when we're in rehearsal, I do my practice introducing them. I'm like, the legendary Alex Boyd, and he giggles every time, and I kind of love it.
It's ridiculous.
All right. Well, and then Ramona Clay's just different. Like my drummer Sean Flume, in that, like, he's the core drummer. Alex Boyd's also our drummer for
shout out
sometimes.
Sean.
Yeah, shout out to Sean Flume. But like, he jokes, he's like, you really like 82 beats per minute. And as a drummer, he's probably really extremely bored with me. But you know, it's just, that's what the music is right now. That's where I actually am as a songwriter right now. And it may morph and change, and I'm okay with that. And hopefully people will ride along with me. I mean, people ride or die for Taylor Swift, and she does that all the time. And I'm not dissing her. I love me some Taylor Swift, okay?
Oh, yeah.
She's brilliant. She's a brilliant businesswoman, and she knows how to reinvent herself, which is something that people don't talk about. Like, women often have to reinvent themselves a little bit more than guys, or they become irrelevant as they age. And so
That's true.
It's unfortunate. I'm not saying that, I don't know, it's kind of fun to reinvent. I'm never going to reinvent in a way that is not me, though. At least I hope I don't. Well, if so, you have receipts. You can call me out on that later. You'd be like, you said you would not. So I probably will, right? But yeah, no, I'm super excited about all of it, and I don't plan on forcing Ramona Clay to be something that it's not. And if it changes, it does. If not, like, it's just a different thing, because I wrote it by myself, and then with writing with another person, like I have with Chris Stefani in the past, like, it just brings out a different side of you when you're morphing people's souls into a product or a song or a piece of art.
And as a member of the band, it's my personal goal to turn everything into a New Orleans funk band.
Oh, no.
So I'm definitely going to try and push as much as I can for all the change possible, because I want some organ, I want some horns.
And I'm, as the Ramona Clay person, I'm like, no.
Some jazz stuff. And
well, and that's what we're doing with Ramona Clay. So
that.
he's going to come and help us with some things with that. And we actually, like, with Ramona Clay, we actually do have someone who plays trumpet. We have our utility player. So I should probably actually introduce the members of each band, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So Interstate Run, there is Chris Stefani, who is a guitar player. We have Charlie Allen, who's also a guitar player. We have Walt Powell. I almost called him Walt Boyd, so you guys almost just got married. So Walt Powell, who's our bass player, and he's phenomenal in himself.
Walt's a good-looking dude, I ain't gonna lie.
You're like, all right, we will have to explain this to your wife. And then we have Alex Boyd. You're like, it won't be that hard. She'll understand. Who plays drums. And then Ramona Clay, like I said, it's a collective, so we have a ton of people. And it's not always the same configuration, but we have Tim Jenkins, who is one of my guitar players. We have Nick Sossman, who's also another one of my guitar players. We have Joey Leppert, who is a bass player. We have Sean Flume, who's our drummer. And then we have Bert Lytle, who is actually I call him our utility player. And he plays drums. He plays guitar, he plays bass, he plays trumpet, and he also sings. So if someone can't make it, and say like someone gets sick, he can jump in and play their part. But he also plays trumpet, which I'm really excited about. we're trying to encourage him to do it. He's waiting to get his trumpet back from his nephew. Hey nephew, if you're listening, please give back the trumpet. We need him to do that because we want it.
The world needs him to have his trumpet.
Yes, because I mean he was like a state musician. Like he was really, really good. And so with that project with Ramona Clay, we can kind of ease and change the way that music presents because it's fun and we do what we want. But with that one, that some of the songs in that can actually lean jazzy, which is one of the things that I want to do because my plan honestly is not to play a ton of bars. There's nothing wrong with playing bars and things like that. But eventually what I want to do is put an entire show together. So I don't know are you familiar with Quixotic out of Kansas City at all? No. So they're like kind of a performing visual arts music. So they'll have people who are aerial dancers. Oh, wow. And they'll have people that do these really beautiful things. They light themselves on fire. They have dancers and music and fantastic singers. I don't know if you know who Calvin Arsenia is. He's a harp player who also sings in Kansas City, but they have these huge shows. They actually have, I believe, a residency. I could be speaking out of turn, but in Vegas. Is that right? Am I wrong?
I have no clue.
But they do these.
Would not surprise me.
It started out in Kansas City, and one of their co-founders actually met with me before I even had Ramona Clay put together because I have a really, really huge vision. And he's like, your vision sounds really great. You need to find something and do it first. Start small, see if you even like it. So like that idea where I had an entire visual album, which is a music video that spans an entire album, like Beyonce's Lemonade. He's like, why don't you just make one little music video first and see if you even like doing it? Because I am under no, I do not necessarily mean to become famous or honestly, if I break even with any of this, I'll be super excited about that. And I do know that is very costly to do some of these things, but I also feel like I have to create it and I can't stop myself. And so we do have a music video. There's a song called Move. And we actually have an entire team. It's actually being headed. All the main leadership are women, which I'm very excited about. So I wrote the song. Audrey Chappell is from ARC Media, is our director. Ashley Daytola, she used to be in a band called the Shadow Rabbits. She is my creative director. We have someone who's a projection mapper on our team so that we can take footage while we're shooting our music video for our live show as well, because that's some of the pieces, the multimedia pieces that I've been wanting to do. And then we actually have a stage combat person who's going to teach us, and it's going to be wild. That's all I can tell you right now, because I don't want to ruin it. But we have a lot of really prominent Kansas City musicians that are going to be a part of it, and it's going to be great if I can pull it off.
I believe in you.
Thank you. I'm so excited. It's going to be so cool. And so that's where I was like, man, like I had the idea for that whole concept album called The Things That We Don't Talk About, right? Because it's about mental health and other stigmatized experiences. And then I'm like, man, but I really probably should start with one single. So I have some soul searching to do. Like, do we do a concept album? Do we do 2 EPs? Do we wait and release 2 full records? Like, do people even release full records anymore? And how does that play into trying to break even, right? Because as sad as it costs a lot of money to put music out, things that people don't think about, like, you know, recording studio time, like 8 hours is what, $500 at most places, and that's just recording. You can probably get 4 or 5 songs done in 8 hours if you're doing them right, plus mixing time, right, which is probably another $500, plus mastering, which is another $200 for 4 songs, and then copyright is $55 a song if you are the only songwriter, and you own the recording to the master and the song, then you can do 1 copyright form, $55 a song to do that. Then you have to have your album art made, and then if you want to copyright your album art, that's another probably $55, right? And then if you want to use a digital distributor, I go with DistroKid right now. It may not be that way forever. That's $20 a year for that. Or, you know, CD Baby has some options too. But then if you want it up forever, and if you're with DistroKid, that's another like $39 for it to stay up even if you cancel your membership. And then if you want to distribute it to radio, if you have CDs made, right, and postage for that, or you can get a distributor like Play MPE membership, but that's still another $500. So it's like, when people are like, do you have songs out or things like that, or does it cost things? And then, you know, if you have like 400,000 streams on a song, you get $40 from streaming.
$40.
$40. Only.
You know, that's a lot of numbers and a lot of expenses, but I didn't hear anything about what your budget is for the drummer.
It's called
Where's that?
street tacos. They're called street tacos.
All right, sold. You drive a hard bargain.
And there are
I'm
some
there.
really good tacos close to Element Recording Studio that Joel Nanos took me to. He's an angel. But yeah. So people don't think about those things and like the gas, and then plus then if you want to do merch, all the money that you have to put up front to do that, and then making sure that you're getting a good return on your investment or ROI based on what you're doing. And then like if you play venues, which I've been thankful not to have a venue that tries to take a percentage of your merch sales, right?
Yeah.
Because if anyone ever asks me that, and I have not broken even on merch yet because of the money I had to put up front, I'm going to bill them and make them pay me for what will put me even, or what percentage would put me even, I think. Because I'll be like, I'm actually negative this much right now because I've not paid for all my shirts, you know?
Yeah.
And then there's not all of them, but there, you know, there's some venues that try to get people to play for exposure, for like charity events, and the charity is their pocket, but they're not telling anyone, you know. But there's just so many things, and then people are like, how do you make money? And it's not about money for us, but we're also not rich folks.
And even musicians as a whole, like you're local professional musician who's trying to pay their bills.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't gotten a raise since the 70s.
True.
Like a $100 cover gig is still the standard pay. It's crazy. It's been that way since before I was born. So, but things are more expensive too. So
They are.
it's a tough world out there.
But I'm also thankful that we're able to work with a lot of organizations and venues and people that do recognize that this is a problem. Because I have tons of full-time musician friends that, like, if people are going out and playing shows for free, that devalues theirs, and then they can't make rent. Like, and they don't have health insurance or anything like that anyway. And there's great organizations like the Midwest Music Foundation that offer some checkups and stuff within the Kansas City area. They also have emergency grants. So it was founded, and I don't know the full story, but there was someone named Abigail, and she got sick, and they ended up doing this organization so that if someone gets cancer or if someone breaks their arm, that either you can have it a grant to help pay the mortgage for a certain amount, or maybe somebody go toward expenses and things like that, and people will fill out applications, send it in, their board of directors will decide on it, and they help out a lot of musicians that way. But still, like, those are emergency grants, right? That's not health insurance, that is not dental insurance, that is not vision insurance, that's not a retirement fund, you know. So I don't know, some venues are really, really good, and I'm thankful to deal with those venues and deal with the promoters and things that really have our best interest at heart, because that's where it's at for sure.
Absolutely. Awesome. Do you guys have, if somebody wants to reach out and perhaps book you, or reach out and just say hi, where would be the best place to?
For me, it depends if we're friends on social media or not, but they can probably just find me at Katerina J on like Instagram or Facebook. So that's KATERINAJAE. So Interstate Run, you can find Interstate Run, everything. I made up the name, so there's not another one. We own the website, we own the Gmail. All the social media is under Interstate Run. And then Ramona Clay is, our tag for that is Ramona Clay Music, because that's what it is. That's what I could find that was common across all of the different social media outlets. So, and it's RAMONACLAY. People are spelling it wrong because it's being auto-corrected, which is a fun thing. I wish I would have known earlier in the process, but you do what you do.
Guys, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Oh man, it was really good. It was wonderful.
Yes.
I think this was, I learned a lot, and I'm very excited to see what both bands do in the future.
Yes, can't wait for you to see us tonight.
Oh yeah,
yes.
Yep, skate bar. Did we talk about the Goo Goo Dolls?
We did not.
We
and
didn't?
actually,
Okay.
Do you want me to break some news about both bands? I can break. Okay, I'm gonna break Interstate Run news too. That has not been broken yet. or publicly has it. So we were invited. Starlight Theater in Kansas City approached me and asked if, because actually Interstate Run, we got ours first, if we would want to play the Applause Club at Starlight Theater. So this is a separate stage from the main stage. It's people pay extra, like $50 a ticket, to be able to go in there and listen to a local band play, to get some light drinks and appetizers and things like that. And they asked us to play that stage, and both my bands are going to be doing it. So July 1st, Interstate Run's going to be playing before Young the Giant.
Oh, wow.
I know, I'm very excited about that. And then, because actually Young the Giant, I just saw them at Sandstone. That's what we're calling it since they changed their name so much. But
It's always Sandstone.
It's always going to be Sandstone for the rest of my life. But I mean, I just went and saw them play with Paramore, and they're like literally one of my favorite bands. They're up there. And I'm very excited to get to play before that. Because then we're going to get to go watch the show afterward too, because they gave us comp tickets so that we could go see it. And then Ramona Clavin's going to be playing before the Goo Goo Dolls and OAR at Starlight on August 26th, I think is the right date. You have to look up on the internet
Double check,
to
yeah.
double check, but I'm pretty sure that's the date. I have so many dates going on in my head right now. And then Ramona Clay was also asked to play Grinders in August, so we'll be likely playing, as long as the date works out. If it doesn't work out for Ramona Clay, then it'll probably be Interstate Run. But don't tell anyone. Don't let my bandmates listen to this. But that's going to be in August, a Saturday in August too.
You always have a backup plan.
I
for
do.
your own
I am
stuff.
conniving. Yeah, so that's the plan. We actually don't have anything else booked. So this March 3rd show is my last full band show booked right now in Kansas City until July 1st. So if you are wanting to come see us, tickets are $10. They can hit us up. Our social media has links to it too. But they're expecting 500 to 800 people at that, which is going to be the biggest stage we've played so far. But it seems like they just keep getting bigger and bigger, which I'm really excited about because, a year ago this time I hadn't played in like 4 years out live. And I played a solo show in March of last year. That was the first time. And then Interstate Run played the Warwick Theater July 23rd last year. And that was my first time back.
Oh, that was a good show.
It was such a good show because there were so
good.
many good bands that played with us.
Yeah,
We had
it was
Lonnie
a great
Fisher and the
night.
Funeral. We had Killer City
Killer City.
and us.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was it.
And we're gonna see Drew tonight from Killer City. So
We're actually not because he's not going to be able to make it tonight.
Oh.
But he's definitely one of our favorites. We played with him a
man,
lot. I
my
just broke
heart's
his
broken.
heart. Drew, we love you.
Drew
We love
is
you so much.
good.
Hopefully you're not listening. No, I'm joking. Please listen. But yeah, we have those big things, both bands. I mean,
Sad
Young the
thing.
Giant and the freaking Goo Goo Dolls.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, what is going on right now? Like a year ago, I was sitting in my sweatpants,
Just
eating my
nothing but
Cheetos,
huge shows.
looking like a man.
All I know is that now that I'm used to this kind of a treatment, I'm very entitled to it now. So I expect every show we ever play to be gigantic. Like
Okay, yeah,
that.
so Sprint
No-
Center /
no
T-Mobile
pressure
Center,
at
whatever your
all,
name
but
is.
I've
We're
become
coming for you.
accustomed to a certain lifestyle now. And playing Starlight, that's the thing now.
Yeah, it's
It's wonderful, though.
It is, and it's so interesting how like I went from playing nothing and not sure what was going to happen because Interstate Run actually practiced for a really long time before we played our first show.
Yeah.
Do you think we were playing together for a year before?
Oh, a year and a half.
Maybe
our
before
first
we
show.
chose a show because we actually got back together because we were supposed to play a show at the Riot Room, and then rest in peace Riot Room.
Yeah.
But it's okay, I got my band back. So I'm fine with. I'm not fine with Riot Room being lost, but I'm thankful that I got
That whole
something out of
thing
it.
was sad.
It's very sad.
Okay, this time for real. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you
Awesome.
for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, check out Interstate Run and Ramona Clay.